Hey, what's up guys? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. Here we're gonna check out and see Blade Runner on TCL 55P605 model TV. This is a Blade Runner 4K UHD HDR Blu-ray disc movie. It's the final cut version, and the one thing that I can see from beginning here on this TV, the one thing that this TV has going for it, it's those deep dark levels. And obviously this movie, it's shot in dark scenes, so it's going to benefit more from full array local dimmings. This thing has about 72 local dimming zones, so therefore it's going to benefit rightly so on this TV. So I'm going to do this video pretty much the same way I did my previous videos. I'm going to show you some stills, and then I'm going to show you the calibration, my own custom picture settings calibration. Now if you see this Xbox One X, this is just the HDMI edit rename that I put on there. I left and reserved the HDMI spot for the Xbox One X when it comes out. It's just that I connected my Samsung 4K player into it, that's all. Okay, so I'm gonna switch through some scenes here really quick, and I'm gonna kind of analyze the HDR here a little bit on TCL. Now here we see Daryl Hannah, the actress, back in her days when she was younger. Again, HDR here, truly it's being represented nicely with the colors and the reflecting light, because this movie has so many reflecting lights. The sets that were built in this movie back in early 80s, Ridley Scott used a lot of light, fluorescent light. I think that's what they were using back then. One of those strobe lights and fluorescent lights, I think. That's what he said in the commentary as well, because they didn't have LED back then. They were using fluorescent lights. Same fluorescent lights that he used on Alien spaceship, Nostromo. But this movie, this TV, I can tell you right from the get-go, from beginning, this TV benefits from full array local dimming. This is where, as much as those white bright levels are important, so are the deep dark levels as well. That's what HDR is based on both. They need both. Whatever there's dark, there needs to be light. Whenever there is light, there needs to be a little bit of dark, so you can overshadow the two. Now let's go through some more. This next scene I'm going to show you, this next still, it's truly going to reek of HDR. There's this little, like a Zeppelin, if you will, like a spaceship Zeppelin that showing the advertisements. It's walking around. There's some Chinese lady on top of it with on the screen or something, and you will see the advertisement going through, and the entire look like a Zeppelin, this little tiny spaceship, it's filled with HDR and light. But before we get to that still, I want to show you this still as well. This is a very unique, very amazing shot right here, and this is where those full array local dimming comes in handy. Now the one thing I notice also, that this TV doesn't have that peak brightness as opposed to Samsung KS8000. You guys cannot see it with camera, but believe me when I tell you, there's a huge difference. The lack of peak brightness, it's kind of like this. This is a good TV for the money, for the budget, but you're not getting that peak brightness that's needed, so you can truly enjoy what this HDR can offer. But you are getting those deep dark levels. It's the same thing with the OLED. The OLED, it's the same story. You are getting those deep dark levels, but you're not getting that peak brightness that's needed for the movie to truly pop and shine. So it's really, I guess the only TV that I can think of right now currently, it's Z9D. Z9D has both of peak brightness and deep dark levels because of the full array local dimming zones that it has. And this is the scene that I was talking about. Maybe I can just play this scene for like a few seconds so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And the HDR just pops. There's another scene that I'm gonna show to you guys. After this scene, there's another scene I want to show you really quick. As you can see, HDR right here. Look at that brightness right here on this container, whatever it is. This is some kind of a checkpoint that has the TV monitors in it or whatnot. Here you see the HDR popping out big time. But there's this one next scene that I'm going to show you that's truly going to like reek of HDR. For example, just look at these two red lights, like a stop signs or whatever. Just look how beautifully the HDR it's representing them perfectly. Same thing here. It's like three-dimensional, like the best. Like, you have to remember, this is a 35 years old movie. It's a very old movie, and just look at this depth of field. Just look. This is the example how good HDR movies can look if the people in studios spend time to correctly use that metadata to render this film. Okay. And look at the deep dark levels right here on this scene. This is where this guy comes in to help Daryl Hannah. She's seeking refuge so that way they can meet with the other replicants. I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And just look how the deep dark levels are being represented here. That's because this TV has those full array of local dimmings, 72 zones. However, it's lacking that peak brightness, you know, to represent that true HDR, you know, potential. But it's also important to remember this movie, you know, considering it was shot on film, edited through celluloid, and then there's still going to be that grain, there's still going to be that film grain that's there, you know. But I do have to acknowledge that they did a pretty good job rendering HDR here and using that 2K intermediate and upscaling it to 4K master. So, and the end results are really good considering just how old this movie is, 35 years. Okay. And then what else I was going to say? Considering this TV, you have to keep one thing in mind. Keep one thing in mind. This is a budget 4K TV. When you buy a budget 4K TV, don't expect super high-end HDR potentials, super high-end Dolby Vision potentials. Don't expect that 4K to look super high-end. It's not. There's different types of 4K TVs. There's entry level, there's premium level, and then there's a high-end luxury elite level out there for people who truly want the best of the best, like enthusiast level. Okay, so this is the entry, like budget level, so keep that in mind. All right, now this was the scene that I was talking about, that Zeppelin, that flying Zeppelin spaceship that's advertising Coca-Cola and different brands and whatnot. You know, as you all know, Ridley Scott shot, I don't know, 200 something commercials back in late 70s, early 80s. Okay, both him and his brother Tony Scott, they done a bunch of commercials. So as you can see right here, the reason I'm showing you this particular still, it's because on this scene it's where truly HDR pops. I'm going to show you, maybe I can play a little, maybe I can show you a couple of stills here really quick. Hold on. There, you see how the light is moving now. this is what you can expect to see, just how beautifully HDR is being rendered here on Blade Runner. Okay. Look at that peak brightness right here. Now, this is a decent peak brightness, obviously. Samsung KS8000 can do much better job on it because it has that peak brightness. But one thing that this TV has is that deep dark levels. You see, on this one, I don't even have to move the gamma to -3 because this thing already has the full array of local dimming. So this was the scene I really wanted to show you, kind of to show you the true potential of what this thing can do, what this movie can do in HDR. And like I said, TCL TV 55 P605 model, it's a good budget 4K TV. It has those full array local dimmings, so you're definitely going to enjoy watching it from different angles. The uniformity is better. However, don't expect the peak brightness. If you are in a lit up room, don't expect peak brightness to pop. That's why you have Samsung KS8000 or QLED if you're gonna watch it in lit up rooms. Okay. Now let's go jump into a custom picture settings calibration for TCL. Of course, it's 24 Hertz. It was shot in 24 Hertz, HDR10, 4K master. So I actually have changed a couple of things here. I moved the TV brightness to normal. The main reason I moved it to normal because this movie, it's shot in dark, and I felt if I keep it too bright, then I might be oversaturating some of my white bright levels. So this is why I left my TV brightness at normal. Picture mode, I left it at dark HDR because this movie is shot in dark, and I felt if I leave it at dark HDR, then it will represent these dark scenes much better. And it really does. It represents these dark scenes really nicely with HDR. So I left it at normal and dark HDR. Picture size, I left it on automatic. Advanced picture settings, local contrast, local dimmings, this is always high. You never move this. You always leave this as it is. This will always stay the same. Backlit and contrast will always be at the maximum because that's what HDR needs in order to work. And the brightness I left at 50. I never mess with the brightness here because you already have the full array of local dimmings. Why would you want to mess with the brightness? You already have those deep dark levels. You don't need to worry about it. Leave it at 50 because if you move down to 40, then you're going to be crushing the deep dark levels and you're going to lose all the detail. Okay. Sharpness, really, for a 4K movie, it's not necessary for you to move it to 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 because you already have that high pixel density, pixel by pixel, okay, density of detail. So there's no reason for you to be outlining that detail any further. Just leave it at 0. And the color, hold on, sorry about that. You have to remember I'm using my cell phone to do this. Color, I felt leaving it at 55. Okay, just to give it a little bit of color pop because this white color gamut here, it's good, but it's not like full-fledged, premium white color gamut. So I left it at 55. It's a decent, good white color gamut, but it's not the greatest white color gamut, so I left it at 55. Color temperature warm, but honestly, I would leave it at normal because at normal, as you will see, once I move it to normal, you will see a much better detail here. Hold on. You see warm, and then you see normal. See what I'm saying? Everything becomes too yellowish. on normal, everything becomes more normal, and that's what you want. So you want to leave it at normal. So let's go back through this one more time. This is what I'm using currently right now. Backlit 100, brightness 50, contrast 100, sharpness 0, color 55, color temperature normal. Now if you want to move color to 50, you can do so if you want to, but honestly you don't have to. I can do that if I really wanted to. I can leave it at 50, you know, but I would highly suggest to leave it at 55. 55, it's not like oversaturating anything, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much what I'm using. And here's another great scene of HDR right here. Maybe I can play this scene for a few seconds so you guys can see. There. And even here you can see those deep dark levels on this TV truly helps with HDR to give you that better, more three-dimensional look to it, you know. But however, it's missing that peak brightness that's also needed for HDR to flourish. And even right here you see that lamp overshadowing the notes on the piano, and then holding this Jack Daniels. I'm hoping it's Jack Daniels that he's drinking, or maybe it's bourbon, I don't know, whatever. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you like this video. You have to remember, this is TCL, a budget 4K TV. It's not a high-end 4K TV. I mean, if you have a Samsung KS8000, I recommend that you watch this movie on a Samsung KS8000 because of that higher peak brightness and quantum dot nanocell technology. Okay, it just makes it more vivid. Makes HDR. It's got all the ingredients that HDR needs. The only thing that's missing, obviously, it's that full real local dimming. If Samsung KS8000 had that full real local dimming, then that Samsung KS8000 would be a perfect HDR TV, you know. But for TCL, this is good. I mean, look, you're still getting those deep dark levels. You're getting excellent deep dark levels on TCL. It has a decent color gamut. It doesn't have that peak brightness, but hey, it does have full real local dimming, which does help. So you're still going to enjoy 4K on this TCL, just like I'm enjoying it right now. You know, but you have to keep in mind that this is a budget TV, okay, and you're getting a budget quality. You know, you're not gonna get super high-end quality, but it's still pretty darn good, okay, considering it's the budget 4K TV. All right, I'm just simply saying I would rather watch it on Samsung KS8000 instead of TCL. But if you have only TCL, it is still pretty darn good. Okay, so there you have it. Hopefully this video, it's informative. If you guys have any questions, leave down the comments below. If I don't answer your comments right away, this probably means I'm busy, or I'm doing something, or I'm sleeping, or whatever. I usually get to those comments when I get a chance, you know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. This was a custom picture setting calibration for TCL 55P605.